ActionSA has launched a campaign asking unemployed doctors and nurses as well as unallocated medical interns to identify themselves and register on an online portal. This is in response to what they say are over 500 qualified South African doctors who are currently unemployed while the country faces the COVID-19 pandemic. For more on this, I'm joined by ActionSA leader Herman Mashaba. So Mashaba, good evening and thank you very much for your time tonight on the Newsfeed Late Night. Are you saying to us that the Department of Health is ignoring local expertise and they're not being engaged?
Well, Thabo, I think you remember when last year the South African government brought 217 Cuban doctors. At the time, South Africans were ignorant of what was happening. This matter came to my attention just over a week ago when someone brought to my attention that 500 qualified, experienced doctors are not hired in the country. And in the process, they made contact with few of them, discovered really frightening statistics, frightening reality, where I discovered that our government has actually put a freeze on 40,000 the medical posts because of obviously claiming the lack of funds to take care of our people. But what I find really quite disturbing is then where did we get the money to bring in the Cuban doctors? What happened to the 500 billion rands that was supposed to really go towards this intervention? It is for that reason our hospitals are understaffed, under-resourced, and our medical staff, the current ones, are going through a difficult time. In the meantime, we've got in excess of over 500 doctors, qualified experience. This I'm not talking about just interns. I'm talking about experienced, qualified doctors.
Now, to that question of the Cuban doctors, in April last year, in a televised media briefing, the Minister of Health, Dr. Zweli Mkhize, said that Treasury had actually given them a go-ahead. National Treasury had given them the go-ahead to fill in the posts of all the doctors that have been frozen. In fact, he said, Treasury will go to all lengths to find the money to get that extra staff. Why has that not happened? I mean, essentially that would mean there is no post that is supposed to be frozen as you and I speak today.
Absolutely, Thabo, I agree with you. It is for that reason that I took a decision giving instructions to my team to run a petition so that by the time I release the actual numbers, I'm not just really having a thumbs up number. I must have the real number. That's why I'm calling on all the doctors who are unemployed, new interns, if that is true. And if this is not true, then I can tell you, Thabo, I will apologize to the South African government. But let's see, because I've already spoken to a few of them over the last week or so. That's why I eventually decided, you know what, let me then obviously see the quantum of this problem. So now we're running an online petition. Let's see what numbers are going to really come out that way. When we talk to government, we will obviously be talking to government with facts. And I'm saying to you, Thabo, if that is not true, true that we are not employing our South African government, I'll be the first one to apologize. And I hope that this is not true, that I must apologize. But however, with the number of doctors that I've already spoken to, unemployed experience, but at the end of the day, I need to establish what is the quantum.
Yeah. Have you engaged the South African Medical Association on this?
Yes, I have been in touch with them to inform them about the decision that we are taking, because we want to really get the numbers so that we have our own facts. So I did bring this to the attention that we are going to really run this petition, and let's see how our doctors are going to respond to this.
Right. Now, in another statement, you're saying South Africa is losing the battle against COVID-19. In fact, you were saying this in relation to the Gauteng's response to the second wave of the pandemic. One would say that's quite pessimistic, wouldn't you say?
Well, Thabo, do you think are we winning? I mean, honestly, this one you don't even have to really get it from me. We, as a country, we are losing the battle against this pandemic. Look, as much as we can claim that the entire world is facing a major challenge, but if you look at countries in the world are already at advanced stage of the application of the vaccine. Whereas in this country, just over a week ago, the president said to us that we'll only get the vaccine in the second quarter of this year. And when we started putting pressure, 2 days later, the Minister of Health then came out with a new story that we are going to get vaccine this month. So we will see whether we're going to really get it or not. I can tell you, I'm sure you're aware of countries which are already at a very advanced stage of not just procuring the vaccine, already in applying it on a daily basis to millions of their people.
Now, you've written a letter to the Premier of Gauteng, dissatisfied with the response to the second wave. What are you saying in the letter? What are you dissatisfied about?
Well, I'm asking the Premier because the last week or so, there's been there is concern that Gauteng is going to be the hotspot. And Gauteng being the hotspot, obviously you'd expect the Premier and his government to start proactively doing something, unlike the failure that we've experienced on 2 occasions at the medical front. Firstly, remember life as a demeanor, what happened with it. Secondly, you remember when COVID-19 hit, the first PPE scandals came out of the Gauteng government. Just today, I was looking at the media reports of what's happening at Steve Biko Hospital in Tshwane. Really very shameful, really very embarrassing for our country, where this is something that took us by surprise. We've really been dealing with COVID-19 now for almost a year. We should really be at the very advanced stage of ensuring that our medical facilities are up to the right standard, unlike really focus on people who are going to an extent of stealing food parcels.
Your letter has been acknowledged by the Premier and handed over to the MEC for health. Have you gotten any response there?
Not as yet. I wrote the letter the following morning. I received the response from the Premier that the letter has been referred to the MEC of Health. Up to now, I'm still waiting. Maybe this is not really a priority. We'll wait for him. But unfortunately, what I want the Premier and South Africans to know that we are really facing a pandemic, a one that is actually not just really getting us sick. It's actually killing our people. I don't really believe there's any South African on a daily basis where we don't really get someone passing away that we know very closely. The last 2 to 3 weeks, every single day, you hear of someone's death. In fact, you know what Thabo was saying to my family last night while we were having dinner? I said, you know what, guys, so with this lockdown and us quarantining, we'll have to find a way where we can actually have somewhere at our entrance where we can have a sanitizing room so that every time one of us goes to the shop or out, when you come back, you sanitize. Any visitor coming into our house must be sanitized. And I think we're just really talking about it. I don't know if the world has got such facilities, but it looks like we'll end up actually at that level when we don't have a government that is going to really protect us.
So what action do you want to see from your letter, and what response are you expecting to get from the MEC?
I expect the MMC, the Premier. You remember what they said last year when COVID hit, with getting additional bed facilities as Nazareth. What has happened to that facility when people today are housed in tents at Steve Biko Hospital, one of our biggest hospitals in the country? Obviously, for people of Tshwane, it is their biggest. People are housed in tents. when we should really have made provision way in advance. You know how many factories in this country, huge factories, that are lying empty, literally brand new? Why didn't we equip them with beds to employ our professional medical people, doctors, nurses, actually to work in these facilities, unlike actually putting a strain on the few? You are aware of how many of our medical staff that we've already lost since the outbreak of this pandemic. So we can't carry on like this and just really always react. The reason why countries actually impose lockdown, they impose lockdown so that they can actually have enough time to really prepare their health facilities. But that is not the case of what's happening in our country.
All right, before we let you go then, Mayor, Mr. Mashaba, the issue of the portal that that you have set up now for medical practitioners, what is the turnaround for that, and when are you hoping to get the numbers or the inventory that you're looking for?
I think, I'm leaving it to my team, and we'll see on the response of the people coming out. Because as soon as we can really see a spike of big numbers coming out, we are not going to really wait for everyone to come through. Once we can really have a sizable sample, honestly and truly, we have to immediately start engaging our government, because they've had the money to bring in 217 Cubans. For me, any number over 217 of the Cuban doctors, if we do have unemployed of our own doctors in South Africa, that for me will really be a crime against our own country and our own citizens who are dying out of this negligence.
ActionSA leader Herman Mashaba, appreciate your time and thank you for joining us tonight on the Newsfeed Late Night.